Yo, this is a brother. Heather, we talked earlier today. We was talking about the anniversary of hip-hop, 50-year anniversary.
Right.
And we were speaking about the different stories that have been covered when it comes to the legacy of this culture.
Right.
And the ones that have not been covered.
The ones that have not been covered. Yeah.
The different people that we've been recycling, and it's fine. We want everybody to be celebrated. But there's people behind the scenes that have not been celebrated.
Properly.
Enough. And I dare say my good friend that's come with us today, Frederick Whitaker Jr., is one of those people.
Full governmentation.
Yeah.
Goodness, Sway.
I don't think people know who that is. Hi, everybody. It's Fred Witt.
Nah, you got to make sure the legacy is on it.
All that government.
Say it one time, just for the record.
For the
ancestors. Brother. But this man, like I mentioned, Angela Simmons, Angela Yee, all these different people he's worked with, Lala Anthony, Terrence J, who's been an actor, EP, super host. He does it all. I remember when Terrence first signed his deal with BET, and we were all in Arizona at a celebrity golf match. Fred Witt.
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember that, right?
I remember that. Yeah, what a time.
And I tell this story, and Terrence and I sat down. That was the first time we ever met. And our conversation was about buying real estate with the money you make.
Absolutely. No, I mean, you've always been a big brother to us. You've always taken us under your wing. You've always been like, hey, guys, you know, when you come into business, some people don't open up their arms to you. But you were one of the ones that's like, y'all, come here, let me talk to y'all.
Yeah.
Do this way and do this way. These are the mistakes that I made. I want to make sure that y'all don't make those mistakes. So whenever Sway calls me, and if I got to pick him up from the airport, I'm going to pick him up from the airport because I owe Sway. Like, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for people like him to be in my life to, like, open up their arms to me and TJ.
Fred Witt, man. Come on, man. That's beautiful. I appreciate you for saying that, but you're an amazing individual. Your contributions need to be recognized, and you stood up for me when we was overseas in the south of France and almost got into a fight in a club. That's
you was
why
going to get your ass beat?
No, somebody was about to get mollywopped. We talked about it. Somebody was about to get molly. Whatever, Heather.
Hey, I was saying if it was going to be a fight. Let me know.
I know, Sway was with it. I was with it. We was like, hey, we with it. TJ was with it.
Sound like Fred Witt.
Yeah, that's the Fred Witt. You know, right?
Sound like Fred Witt.
But you're, how they say, pushing it forward, right? And you're bringing other people up to the fray. Explain to me how you met this young man, our other guest.
You know, it's funny. So Jaleel and I are both in the same fraternity, so we have a lot of mutual friends that know each other. I went to North Carolina A&T. Jaleel went to Virginia State. And Jaleel reached out to me a few times, like via social media, like, hey, I want to get into the hosting space. And my thing is to see how consistent you are, because everybody wants to be a host until they try to put that work in.
Word.
And on a random Sunday in L.A.
All-Star Weekend.
It was All-Star Weekend. I was walking across this parking lot.
Jack in the Box.
And I had this.
I love these ad-libs.
I had this one young lady walking with me, and I heard some guy say something slick.
Okay.
So me and Fred, I'm like, you know what? It sounds like it's a bunch of them. It's just me and this young lady. I'm going to take an L.
Okay.
I know I'm going to lose.
Take the L. That's a W.
But I got to stand up.
Oh.
So I turned around. I was like, yo, what y'all say? And kind of find out Jaleel's like, yo, that's Fred Witt. Hold on. I need to talk to you. And I'm like, thank you. Because I was going to catch an L. It was like 3 or 4 of them. I'm like, yo, I can't back down. I'm in a Jack in the Box in L.A. I don't know who's watching.
Go.
And then from there, me and Jaleel just, we sat down. We had several conversations. And one thing I say about Jaleel is he's consistent. Like, the more you bother me, the more I'm like, all right, let me figure out how I can help you so you can stop bothering me.
Right.
But then it just kept coming with, he wanted to put the work in. He wanted to learn. Like, he had 1,000 questions. Sometimes he have a question, I'm like, yo, I don't even know the answer to that question. Let me get back to, like, when you're on the grind in the beginning, and you just want to figure it out, and you just want to ask every question under the sun and the moon. And that's how Jaleel was, man. So he was super consistent, and he's just been putting the work in. He like, all right, big bro, what about this? And I'm like, I don't know about that. Then he'd be like, I'm thinking, okay, I hear from him a week later. Next day, all right, well, I changed this. I added this to do this. What about we do this? What if we reach out to this person? And people like that are people that I've seen in this business that survive because they want to put the work in. He don't look at me and be like, what do you got for me? What can you do for me? You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things like, This is what I'm bringing to the table. So
Word.
what are you gonna do, Fred? And I'm like, well, damn, you putting pressure on me. I thought I was the
Mentor.
yeah. Like let me step myself up. But it remind me and his relationship reminds me a lot of my relationship with Shaka Zulu. Like me and Shaka go back
Shaka
and forth.
Zulu, the
Man.
manager
Good
for
people.
Ludacris,
Yep.
good people,
Good
came
family.
from radio,
Family.
royal
What up,
family out of
Shaka?
Atlanta.
What up,
What up,
Aisha?
Jeff?
Yep, Jeff.
What up,
y'all?
Aisha?
The whole
whole
crew,
gang. Yeah,
So
family.
It's one of those things where Shaka reach out to me and be like, well, I just did this deal. What are you doing? And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be the youngin'. You know what I'm saying? So when Jaleel does that, it just reminds me of that grind. And I just, all of this HBCU 101 was all Jaleel's idea. I'm just the guy in the background just making the phone calls and helping out where I can, and I'm a big fan of, what you put out there is what you get back in return. So
Yes.
Jaleel had that good energy besides the time they was going to beat me up in the parking lot. But other than that, we're good.
Damn,
man.
Jaleel, Chicago shit. Huh?
He made himself memorable.
Well, let's welcome to the show for the first time. Jaleel Thurman is here, y'all.
What up?
Executive producer, host, HBCU 101.
Yeah.
I want to listen. This is about education, so we
Yeah.
we have a lot of conversations on this show about education. If you tune in, you're trying to select a school to go to, a campus, you haven't considered an HBCU yet, you should definitely consider that. We've seen the success that many people have had that have come from HBCUs.
Yeah.
Jaleel, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Absolutely,
morning.
man.
And I, it's crazy to go from hearing you on the radio to being here. So yeah,
What's
I
that like
appreciate-
for you, man? It's
You
trip.
know, it's surreal.
Yeah.
But I'm
touch
happy
me,
to be
dog.
here.
Touch me, it's cool.
You such a mess.
Stupid. That sounds crazy.
We
over
are
the
here.
airwaves.
Yeah.
HBCUs. Let's talk about it, citizens. If you went to one, or you're thinking about sending a kid to one, or somebody's about to graduate, go to college, 888-742-7.
3345.
There you go. Thank you. What school did you go to? And Fred, what school did you go to?
The illustrious Virginia State University.
Virginia State, the state.
Okay.
Okay.
I went to North Carolina A&T State University, a.k.a. G-Ho University. You know what it is.
I done turned them up. I done turned them
Nah,
up.
North Carolina A&T State University, everybody. Every now and then I got to rub it in on Jaleel.
I feel like Do It All went there as well. Oh, I got to check.
From Lords of the Underground?
Yeah, I'm going to do some research on that real
Okay.
quick.
Talk about that pride, because that's important to me. What you see when you go to HBCU campuses. I've been talking on campuses for years, and that's one of the things that I enjoyed. Like, even though I wasn't enrolled, I enjoyed the pride, and I enjoyed. And this is gonna sound crazy, but I said this about when I landed to Ghana. It was the first time I landed and didn't have to feel black.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense to you. So, talk about that pride and what it's like going to an HBCU.
So for me, it's crazy because I knew nothing about HBCUs going into college. You know, my dad was like, look, go to an HBCU, go for the culture, join a frat. He really walked through my 4 years of college. He was like, then if you want to, go anywhere after that, do your thing, but go there. So I'm like, all right, cool. And so I ended up getting to Virginia State, and it was nothing I've ever seen before. I started going on college tours, but then it was the campus, like you said, you fit right in.
You fit in.
It was natural,
Yeah.
But the one thing I love about HBCUs, you talked about the pride, but the one thing I like is the different cultures, right? So when you go to an HBCU, right? So I'm from Chicago, so we calling Jordans, Jordans, Mikes, whatever. We call gym shoes. I get to the East Coast, it's sneakers.
Yep.
People wearing New
Tennis
Balances.
shoes. Yep.
Yeah, they wearing New
Right.
Balances. I never seen nobody wearing a 990 a day in my life. Like it's fashionable.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They uptown, calling Air Force Ones flaves because I'm in Virginia. I'm like, why y'all calling them flaves? They're like, because they come in different flavors. And I'm like, whatever, But that's what I think you get the most is like it's like a melting pot of so many different cultures, whether you from East Coast, West Coast, or the Caribbeans. Because that's when I really got exposed to like outside of the United States. And so to your point, you just really just fit in and everybody accepts you for who you are.
We're talking about HBCU 101. This is a show that's premiering Sunday, September the 17th on Aspire TV. We got the two executive producers that are here. Heather, you want to jump in?
Yeah, so Do It All, just for correction, he went to Shaw University.
Okay.
Raleigh.
In Raleigh,
In Raleigh. I know where
another
it's at.
HBCU.
Yeah,
I shouted you guys out last night on my show, the Happy Hour with Heather B, and just made that audience aware that you guys were coming today. And I'm just hearing the backstory with how you two met, hearing both of y'all's hustle and grind and the persistence to do it. I want to start with you, Jay. Like, what was it that made you a person? Because you got to walk a fine line. There's a fine line between being like a pest and then, just being like, yo, I really want to make this happen. Persistent. Like, because you hear Jordan, when he spoke about Kobe, was like, yo, this dude was calling me all the time. Like, you're not one of my kids. Was good. But, like, how did you walk that fine line?
It's crazy. So, after me and Fred met, and I'm going to give Fred his flowers right quick.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people exchange numbers. But a lot of people don't text you back. A lot of people don't call you back. Now, Fred, in the beginning, wasn't texting me back like immediately though.
Right.
Like it might be a week, 3 days. It was random when he texted me back, but he always texts back. And I can appreciate that. And I want to give him his flowers because if he never texted me back, I wouldn't even be here today.
Right.
So Fred, I'm gonna give you your flowers on some. Appreciate you, OG, for that. But the way that I was able to really do that was, I just didn't bother him. I understand people's time is valuable. So if I'm gonna come to Fred, I want to come with an idea, something that makes sense. Because he gave me access to him. So let me not abuse the access just because I have his number. And so I would come to him with, like he said earlier, something that was put together. Then he'll review it and he'll be like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go back to the drawing boards, and I come back and then come back. And then honestly, shout out to Usher, because Usher is, Fred's line brother. But me and Usher both from Chicago. We both went to the same high school. So me and Usher also was able to develop a relationship. And then it was also another way of, I didn't have to always bother Fred. I could bump ideas off
the middleman.
It then now became like, okay, Usher would be like, yo, holla at me first. Don't go to Fred with everything. Because Fred got so much going on, as we mentioned earlier.
That's Fred Witt.
So then it would be Usher. So I would throw things against the wall and see what stuck. Whatever stuck went to Fred. But then it was like, yo, we just kept literally just grinding, ironing out things, and here we are now.
I love it, man.
I love it
too. Who's that? Kalani? I'm sorry.
He
That threw me
taking
off.
calls.
Even Michelle, you went to a HBCU?
Bennett.
So even the
Bennett
publicist went to a HBCU. Kelly Kincaid, who did your show, went to
Shout out
Jackson
to Kelly.
State.
Shout out to Kelly.
Shout out to
And
Kelly,
she
man.
reps it like a gangbanger.
Yes. Like Kelly do.
Yeah.
Oh,
She
you
reps it
got
like a gangbanger.
on the
though.
episode, she calling shots out to everybody. Like, you ain't Jackson State, you ain't you're not relevant.
Can you talk about the importance of HBCUs, the fellowship, the networking, the HBCU alumni? Talk about that, because after you graduate, you got a whole world of resources, right?
Yeah. So for me, my experience is very unique and different because I'm coming up on 20 years of graduating from college.
That's
and
dope.
Congratulations.
I still do a lot of business with the people I was in undergrad with to this day. And it's one of those things where instead of us reaching up, we reach across.
Okay.
And how can we help each other? And, the prime example is me and Terrence J. Like, he was the SGA president. I'm the chief of staff. He was the host. I was the DJ. When we got into the business, he was like, let's bet on ourselves than betting on somebody else to be his manager. So when we look back on it, we can say we left it all out on the field.
Yeah, y'all did.
So, but we learned that in college, throwing gym jams, doing fashion shows, step shows, doing, rallies, doing marches. Like, we did everything that we're doing now, we learned in college. And it's amazing that when you graduate, you think people just go off into the real world and you lose, like, connection. No, every year homecoming comes. Homecoming is like Christmas.
Yeah.
It's like you go back to see your family. You go back to see, okay, how are you doing? How is life treating you? How are your kids doing? What are you working on now? How can I help you? A lot of people are gonna be like, Fred, how can I support what you got going on? I'm like, well, how can I support what you got going on? Because we've seen each other grow up in this world together from being, most kids go to college at 18, graduate 22, 23. Then once you get into the real world, you're trying to find yourself, but you always have that HBCU support and alumni group that's like, you know what? I know somebody that work up there. Let me make a phone call for you. Just because you graduate from the same school. Or it could be the thing where, like, yes, Jalil didn't graduate from A&T, but he went to another HBCU, so I still want to see him win. It's still a circle. I've had friends, and I'm not going to call their names out. I brought them to G-Ho one year, and they're from the West Coast. They literally looked me in the face and said, Fred, I've never seen this many black people hanging out together and nobody's fighting. Yeah. Everybody's like, what do you need? Oh, you need some more chicken on your plate? You need a drink? They're helping each other. They was just sitting there just looking like, this is not real. I'm like, This was us in college. Because we in college and some people go away to college. Think about those weekends where, say, if Jahlil's in Virginia, he can't just get back to Chicago like that. So now he's in Petersburg for the weekend. So now him and his dorm mates or roommates or whoever else it is, they're stuck there too. So now they got to figure out how they gonna eat on the weekends. I remember seeing sometimes where I couldn't make it home for Thanksgiving. So me and my friends were like, all right, we gonna go to Food Line and we gonna figure out how we gonna have a Thanksgiving together. And you know, now that we're older and mature and people are doing different things in life, it's like, wow, like we've seen each other grow up. So that's why, to me, HBCU pride, and it's like an unspoken bond.
Yeah.
And then when you throw the frat on there, it's different.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, when
You in
you
a
throw
frat?
the fraternities, everybody in a frat. I'm in the only one that really matters.
Which one is that?
Talking that talk.
My brother's a Sigma. Is that the one you were in?
That's
Sorry
not
to
the
hear
one
that.
we not talking about over there.
What the hell? Okay, that concludes this interview.
Y'all know better than to argue with the person with the mic.
The pride kicked in.
Jahlil,
My bad,
young man. This ain't yard talk 101, homie.
He in the quad. He talking in the quad.
Hey, man.
It's different.
Dude, it's different, man.
Nah, we Qs, man.
You Qs?
Yeah,
Okay.
Nigga South 5 Fraternity Incorporated. But
Yeah.
earlier, Fred mentioned, and when you talked about network, like my one of my old roommates was on my pro fight, and he was like, yo, Fred, get connected with Fred. He was the one who told me about Fred, because they both crossed the same year. And he was like, I remember when Fred and TJ was driving up to do an interview. They didn't tell us what the interview was for. They just needed gas money. And he was like, next thing you know, it was for 106 apart, right? And they just been connected. We still do business, and you know, Fred knows what I'm talking about. And so shout out to Deuce for that. But when you talk about a network, like that's literally what it was. Like, yo, you need to get with Fred. Bet, okay. And then I'm Fred. Look, you know my pro fights. You know 04. You know da. I'm running down the names. He like, okay, bet, cool. So when you talk about network and resources, not only do you get that as an HBCU, but then when you add the frat into it, it's different.
Double down on
Enhances.
it. I want to do a couple things. We got some callers on the line, and I wanted to have y'all on because I feel like HBCU culture does not get enough exposure.
Yeah.
And we just, you know, Deion Sanders was able to bring a lot of attention to people learned what HBCU meant
Through
because
him
of him
showing up at Jackson State,
and his success, right? And what he did for Jackson State. Can you, and I'm going to take a caller, but can you name some of the people, prominent figures that have come from HBCUs?
I mean, yo, the list goes on.
Just give me 10 off the bat.
dome.
Yeah.
Will Packer.
Shout out to Will.
Keisha Knight Pulliam, Lance
Word.
Gross, Terrence J. I'm gonna
TJ.
give Fred his flowers. Fred
Facts.
Wig,
Okay.
DJ Envy, Dallas Martin, Shaka Zulu. Who else we got, Fred? It's so many. It's so many of them. Man, now I'm drawing
That's
a
good.
blank.
That's good, though. That's I just want to show like a lot of people have come from this,
Within
right?
our culture and industry, for sure, and that broadens the connections, like they're talking about. You know, like man, I didn't know that many people graduated from the HBCUs.
And they did a horrible job of naming everybody. It's
we did.
way more.
It's
Well,
way
it's
more.
coming off the
But
top.
it's-
You asked for like a
Like, put us on the
16 bar
spot.
freestyle on the
I'm like,
top.
Where did he
minute,
think he was coming, Heather?
Yeah.
They knew when he was coming.
But
Roxy, got to shout out Roxy
But
too.
to the point of why we do HBCU 101, like we appreciate those big names, but it's also about those other people that are behind the scenes that, you know, everybody can't be Sway, but everybody can be a producer to a Sway show, and it provides more opportunities. So we like to tell, yes, we will tell Sway story, but we would like to tell that producer story as well too.
Facts.
So that way that kid that's sitting in the classroom, you know, he can look at it and be like, okay, I don't have to be the face of something and still be successful in this world and in this business and still pursue my dreams. And that was the whole purpose of why we really want to do HBCU 101. Because if you look at our arrangement of guests, it goes from the big time celebrities that everybody know, then it goes to telling people stories who has a Fortune 500 company, but you would never know, and they graduated from an HBCU.
Yeah, I love it, man. Byron is on the line. He's from Dallas.
What up, B?
B, what up, man?
Hey, Byron.
Hey, family, good morning to everybody, and God bless everybody that's on the panel today.
Yes,
Aw.
indeed. Thank you.
Same to you.
Just wanted to let a first-time caller. I have two daughters that graduated from an HBCU.
Wow.
One of my daughters went to Howard.
Okay.
got a communications degree. My other daughter went to Prairie View A&M and got a criminology degree. And then a military vet, I actually got accepted to Jackson State to take my PhD.
Wow, that's what. So, what would you say to other parents that may not consider HBCUs?
First of all, my daughters actually chose the HBCU. I didn't push them towards it. They actually chose it. And when I went up there to do the campus visits, man, it was a mind-blowing experience to see us walking around the campus, just heads lifted, chest stuck out, just proud to be getting a higher education. And that just really blew my mind away. And my oldest daughter that went to Howard, she's trying to do her. She's actually running her communication business from her house.
Okay.
Her husband went to Howard as well, and he's an architect.
Okay, so they killing it. So yeah, that's like an HBCU empire.
I want to say, speaking of empire, I want to say this to Fred. I want to ask you this question. I see Will Packer a lot actually on ESPN, and he's always like promoting Florida and the schools and happy, and you can tell that he gives back and he reaches back and he donates. And I've spoken to a lot of athletes who did not choose to go to a HBCU because it wasn't as pristine, as say maybe going on their visit to the University of Michigan or going to their visit to Ohio State. Do you think, would you argue sometimes that, yes, there's a lot of pride with graduating from an HBCU, but maybe the graduates don't always go back and donate back and send money back to the campuses and the schools? Because here doing media, Fred, we read the stories. Oh, my gosh, the dorms at this place, there's rats, there's leaks, there's holes. You don't necessarily hear that at the other universities, which may deter athletes from attending those schools.
I mean, in order for these programs and schools to be successful, a lot of them are state funded. So those are different conversations within the state. And then a lot of it is just alumni giving back money. And that's why, they try as much as they can, but you can't want your school to be highlighted in a certain way if you're not giving back. Like it's just the God's honest truth. There's no way around it. Like these bigger Michigans and Chapel Hills and Dukes, like, they donate. What did Colorado do for Deion? The alumni raised.
They figured it out.
They figured it out. Right?
Come there.
You see what I'm saying?
Facts.
So it's just one of those things where we have to step up and give back. And sometimes it's challenging where people will come, graduate, and don't give back. And then there are people that do give back, but it's just not enough to be like, I'm going to go to this HBCU so I can make it to the league, because at the end of the day, you need the proper equipment, you need the proper training, you need the proper training staff. Now, there are some people that have broke that mold. One of my profiles did it. He went to North Carolina A&T, and then he made it to the league, played for the Giants. Shannon Sharp did. Like, there are people that have done it, but, it's a slim few, but we as a community have to give back to these HBCUs to support, and that's why it's very important to give back to the schools that you graduate from.
On that note, man, get that Fred Whitaker here, man.
Thank you for
Jaleel
answering
Thurman.
that.
I know Paulette, you wanted to say something real quick. She's in Memphis. Go ahead, Paulette.
Absolutely. Good morning, you guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey.
Go for it real quick.
All right, real quick, Mr. Whitaker, let me first send you some Coleman love.
Hey.
I attended Tennessee State University, and I love what you're doing for the culture and what you're doing for us. You cannot experience being black until you go to an HBCU. It's a different vibe.
Thank you,
Let the
Paulette.
church say amen. Let the church say
Amen.
amen.
Paulette, you a citizen, Paulette.
Let's
Let's go to Tara in California. Tara, what you want to say real quick?
Hey, I just want to say how excited I am about this conversation. I attended the Mecca Howard University. I have love for all of my HBCUs. My daddy, my mom went to HBCU. Oh, let me take myself off.
It's all right. We're about to wrap you up. But
Alicia,
thank you for your call. You're a citizen,
It's
Tara.
in the morning.
All right,
and
peace.
don't forget, we have an HBCU channel here at Sirius XM,
Facts.
channel 142.
Okay, and shout out to the Black Leadership Advisory Committee for really pushing that initiative here at Sirius XM. Listen, I want to say thank you, Jaleel Thurman. You are the truth. You are the now.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
love
appreciate
you.
you.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your work ethic.
For real.
Your vision. Your tenacity, man. I really enjoy your energy too. You're great. at what you do. You carry great energy and great charisma, so keep it up. And you with the right team.
Yeah.
You got the bionic manager over here. You got Super TJ. All these different people you can tap into. Michelle over here, who's incredible. You know, so I want to thank y'all, and I want everybody to make sure you support. And I want to invite you back up here.
Yeah.
Let's continue these conversations.
Yes.
Let's do a series of these conversations.
All right.
To promote the series. All right. September 17th.
Sunday, 12 p.m. Eastern, Aspire TV, HBCU 101. Tune in. We got DJ Trauma coming through the set this Sunday.
Okay.
So make sure y'all tune in. Represent Clark Atlanta.
Yep.
That's Dave Chappelle's DJ.
For sure.
Yep.
Shout out to your dad. Your dad's the truth. He wore an ether shirt.
Now it's birthday tomorrow.
Okay. Hey, man, this was